Hey everybody, thanks for attending this session, watching this session wherever you are. Today we're going to cover what's new in the Microsoft 365 administration and management. My name is Timothy Heaney. I'm a principal program manager on the M365, Microsoft 365 admin team. And we're focused on giving you some of the admin experiences that you use on a day-to-day basis, whether you're a small business, medium business, or large enterprise. So let's jump in and see what we've got in store for you. So looking at the agenda, we're going to focus a lot of our day on delegated administration, how we've made it so that you can give people access to what they need to be able to manage without giving them excessive access, simplifying the experiences so that as an admin, you can come in, get your job done, and then keep moving. And convenient access, trying to bring you the alerting, the management, and all the capabilities that you expect from the admin center wherever you work in a convenient way. So just to recap on what the admin center is, it's where you go to manage Microsoft 365 suite of services. It's admin.microsoft.com. A couple of years back now, we went through an initiative to try to have that one central point for entry into M365 administration, admin.microsoft.com. And off of that, we hang a bunch of specialist workspaces. These specialist workspaces are where if somebody is a team specialist or an exchange specialist, they would go into that specific area to do the deep stuff. But for 80% of their day-to-day tasks, they should be able to handle it within the admin.microsoft.com. And for the smaller businesses, they likely would never need to leave admin.microsoft.com. Now, with the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, there's kind of three pillars that we try to achieve with our experiences. One is we want customers to start fast with Microsoft 365. And this is about, whatever you purchased it for a reason. We want to make sure that you're getting the value that you came for. If you came for email, we want to make sure we get you going with email and then help you realize any other value that comes with subscriptions that you've purchased. If you've purchased Office, we want to make sure that you get Office installed to start using. We just want to make sure that we get you from purchase to the use of the service as efficient way as possible. Also helping you get your users, not just yourself, set up. So we want to make sure we handle getting you off on the right foot and getting your users off on the right foot. We want to simplify your admin tasks, right? The idea isn't to come in and have to have a PhD in administration. You want to be able to come in and assign licenses with ease, basically make things simple, right? And that's one of the things that we try to deliver to customers. Just because you're an enterprise or a small business doesn't mean that we have to overly complicate things. Keep it simple, allow you to achieve what you want to achieve in a clear and concise way. That's what we're trying to achieve here. And act on intelligent recommendations. Recommendations has been a fundamental part of delivering curated value to customers, right? So like making sure that we, based on your what you purchased and what you told us you want, making sure that we can get you the next best action to get you honestly going fast with Microsoft 365. So as we go through this, you'll see a bunch of experiences that cater to that. What we've heard from you, a couple things here. One is there's a lot of non-admins that have administrative functions. Think of a teacher that has to manage a classroom. They're not administrators or technical administrators for the most part. That's not their main job, but they still have to do things like resetting passwords and managing a classroom. Same thing for a manager of a team. They have to manage the employees within that team, but they're not necessarily a technical administrator. Help desk admins. They don't need in many cases, they don't need a complex dashboard of hundreds and thousands of settings. What they need is a streamlined experience to help them get to the things they need to do: reset passwords, assign licenses, manage billing, stuff like that they need to do on just to get all the noise out of the way and let them act on that. And then for the enterprise, a lot of customers that we deal with they're multinational, they're massive companies, and you want somebody to be able to. I'll use the password reset thing again. You want to be able to reset passwords, but not for everybody in the organization. You want them to manage North America. You want them to manage Philadelphia. You want them to manage, a segment of the organization, not everybody. And you want them to have the right level of permissions when they do it. That's some of the problems we've heard about from our enterprises. So that brings us into delegated administration. In this case, there's three constructs here. Number one is build the structure for your tenant. In the on-premises world, this was called organizational units. In the cloud, it's called administrative units. There's different concepts across different services. Like Exchange has its own way of scoping, Intune has its own way of scoping, and AAD has its own way of scoping. Everything's coming together under AUs now. Everybody's leaning and moving towards administrative unit scoping, so you can have one type of scoping across a suite of M365 services. That's what we're working towards directionally. Now, the idea is once you build that logical structure for your organization, then you need to delegate who's in that structure. And that would be things like users and groups that you can add, saying like all the users in North America, all these groups are part of this administrative unit. And like I said, these scopes are, the idea is that these scopes are honored across the M365 suite of services. So now you'd be able to set up your logical organization structure in a way that makes sense to you. You can have things, like I said, like users in there and groups in there. We support 8 roles today. That's up from, I think it was 5 or 6 last year with administrative units, and that number is going to keep growing. If you set up an administrative unit, it's not just setting it up to be honored within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. It's actually being honored by PowerShell and Graph and all the other endpoints as well. So it's one of those things where you set up administrative units and it's not just specific for one tool. It's a true structure you're applying to your organization. So to take a visual look at what this would look like, let's say you had a massive organization, a flat organization. It's really hard to say that I want one administrator to be able to admin all of these entities. So you can break it up into a logical way. North America, EMEA, LATAM. Doesn't have to be by country or region, but you get the idea. You could break it up however you'd like. You could also have a separate AU that covers more than one AU. Like as an example, your org's legal team may have some users they need to manage or groups they need to manage in North America and EMEA. An AU can actually cut across other AUs too. It would just be a 4th admin unit. Okay. So you can break your organization up in the way that makes sense to you and for management purposes. So let's do a quick demo of what the administrative unit experience looks like. So let's take a look at the Admin Center. So I'm in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. You're going to notice that they have this node on the left-hand side called Roles. If you ever don't see it, you could just you might be in a view where it looks like this and roles isn't showing. You can click show all and you'd see roles. But when you're in here, if you click the drop down menu, you'll be able to see administrative units. So if I click on administrative units, you'll see that I have a few created already. Now, let's go through the process of creating one. So if I click on add for admin units, and we'll call this one, let's just call this one Philadelphia. Call it Philly users, okay? So we go next, and I can add up to 20 members. So if I click add up to 20 members, I can select, the members that I want to add to the experience. We'll just pick 2 at random. And I'll click assign. So this is adding members that will be managed by the admin unit. So I'm adding the users in here. I'm adding the Philadelphia users in at this point. If I had a list, a CSV or something of Philadelphia users, I could upload them in bulk too. And I'll click next here. Once I click next, I can go through and say, okay, the authentication admins for the Philly administrators, I'm going to assign that to a few people, or I'm going to assign that to one person. I'm going to make Bianca the authentication admin, and I could go down a list and add other admins as well. So I could add, user admin, a Teams admin for those members that I added in the first screen. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and click next, review the information. If I wanted to edit anything, I could, and then I would click add. So once you're done with the admin unit, you'll notice that there's another one in the list, Philadelphia. Then if I signed in with Bianca, you'd be able to see the administrative unit management experience. So it's that simple to create an admin unit. So once Bianca signs in, if you added Bianca as an admin to more, she was an authentication admin in that admin unit, but let's say she was an authentication admin for Philly users and New York users and Boston users, okay? In that case, she might be associated with 3 different administrative units. When she signs in to admin.microsoft.com, she would get a drop down here for the admin unit, and she'd be able to pick Philadelphia, New York, or Boston, and be able to switch between them. When she switched between them, she would see the list of users that are associated with that admin unit that she has permissions to manage, and she would see the action she can do. Like as an example, if she was allowed to create users in there, or if she was allowed to reset passwords for those users, things like that, she'd be able to go ahead and do that. And this is what it would look like if the admin logged in and wasn't using the simple mode of Admin Center, which I'll show more of in a minute. Anyway, there's a drop down that's consistent across experiences that allows them to pivot between the different administrative units. Let's get into that simplified experience. We talked earlier about simplifying the admin experience, and the real thing is, like, why do we want to simplify the admin experience? There's a lot of admins like teachers or managers, things like that come into the admin center that really, or even small businesses, very small businesses that really aren't technical or aren't very technical, or they're really trying to be as efficient as they possibly can and get rid of as much noise as they can because they have a common task that they do over and over. The tasks that people often do are related to user management, assigning licenses, resetting passwords, things like that, managing your bill, creating and managing your groups and teams, and then getting help and support. Putting those things front and center and getting rid of all the rest of the noise has proven really well for certain types of administrators. Like I said, more than non-technical or smaller VSB type admins. What we heard from those admins is that this stuff is really complex. It's really hard to use the admin center in the way it was. So we wanted to build something that was more simple for them. So going from the top screen, which is very feature rich for the enterprise, to the bottom screen, which is very task oriented and very much about getting top insights in front of the customer without too much noise. So let's break down the page a little bit. There's top actions for you. With the top actions for you, we can show you the clear top things that you should go do with the phase you're at in your tenancy. So if you're early in your tenancy, it might be things like install Office and set up email. If you're later in your tenancy, it might be things like leveraging additional security features and things like that that you don't have configured yet. But it's all about giving you simple tasks that are probably most meaningful to you now. We also know that most people come in to, we also know the core things people come in to manage, like I said before, is for users, groups and teams, subscriptions, and, learning and help. So there's pivots for those specific things to make it really easy to navigate to those things and to discover those things. But we default you to the users pivot because that's honestly where most administration happens. You usually got to come in for your day-to-day, you get pinged, you have to reset somebody's password, you have to unlock them or whatever you have to do. Having that there with very few clicks, hiding away even the left navigation behind a hamburger menu in the upper left. If you look up here, the hamburger menu in the upper left, that's where you would get to your left nav. It's all hidden away. And then the ability to switch back to that rich dashboard if you wanted to is there as well. So it's all about simplifying it to get rid of the noise and make it super simple for these types of admins. So let's take a quick peek at what it looks like in this simple view. So I'm going to go back to that same dashboard I was showing, and I'm going to switch to, go back to the home page there. I'm going to switch to Simplified View. When I switch to Simplified View, you're going to notice that we get transitioned into this more simple experience for an admin. Now imagine if you were a teacher, or you were a help desk admin or something like that. Having a list of functions here, being able to quickly come in and reset a password, having that at your fingertips is, it's one of those things that just, it makes our customers more efficient. And we've actually done a lot of research to make sure that, or a lot of analysis to make sure that this leads to a higher level of satisfaction for the admins that come into it. We also still have the ability for you to easily see all the things that are available to you in the left nav, but we have it hidden away in the hamburger menu, so it doesn't take up much noise. Like I said, top actions to allow you to do the things that you need to do, to go and create a user, because you're early in your tenancy, things like that. So that's a view of just a taste of what the simplified view looks like. I'm going to show you more on this later when we dive into some of the ways we've made it more convenient to get to this simplified view. So coming back to the slides, let's talk about that. Let's talk about convenient access. The Microsoft 365 Admin Center is now going to be hosted in Teams. Now, let's talk about kind of why we're doing this. One of the reasons we're doing this is we want to make sure that we're meeting you where you're at. We know that you spend a lot of your time in Teams. We know that you collaborate with users in Teams. We know you do your chatting with people in Teams, and people sometimes might even ask you to help them out with X, Y, and Z while you're in Teams. We want to make sure that when we do this, though, we deliver it. We don't want to create yet another admin center. You know, a couple of years ago, we were fighting this battle of having 28 different admin centers and trying to refine that. And that's when we came up with the strategy of having admin.microsoft.com with some specialist workspaces that come off of it, simplifying that. We're not trying to divert that. What we're trying to do is take that admin.microsoft.com experience, make it even more simple, and then make it feel integrated into Teams in this case, into a place that's more convenient for you to access. Let's take a dive in first. First thing you got to do is, if you want to use this, is find the app, right? So you would go into the Teams App Store, do a search for Microsoft 365 Admin, and from there you could find the app, click on the app to install it. It is a free app, but it is one of those things that is only going to work if you are an administrator. So you'd have to have one of the 60, I think 3 or so roles that we have in Azure Active Directory in order for it to work. Otherwise, you would get a message that says you are not an administrator, so you cannot use this. Sign in as an administrator. Once you're in, you'd be able to come in and see something very similar to the simplified view. A few nuances. There's no hamburger menu for the left nav. You'll see less top actions, things like that. But overall, you're going to see and feel an experience that feels native to the hosting app, but still consistent with the admin experience you would expect from admin.microsoft.com. It's not going to feel foreign to you. So let's take a peek at this in action. The first thing I want to do is take a look at an experience in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So if I go to Active Users, once I'm in Active Users, I can click on the option to, as an example, manage product licenses. Okay. When I go to Manage Product Licenses, you're going to notice there's all these pivots for OneDrive, Mail, License Snaps, Devices, Accounts. It's a rich experience. It's got things across the M365 suite of services available to you and that you can manage. You can also, obviously, you went to Manage Licenses, you can easily manage licenses and save changes. Let's take a look at a similar experience in the M365 Admin app integrated into the Teams client. So in this case, if I come here, I'm not sure if I'm picking the same user, but regardless, I'll pick a user. I'll click on Manage Product Licenses. Okay. Now again, I've already installed the app. That's why it's on the left rail here. So when I click on Manage Product Licenses, you're going to notice a couple things. When I was in the Rich Admin Center, it was a panel that came out. Okay. In this case, it's not a panel, it's a modal. And the reason why it's a modal is because it's supposed to feel and look native to the hosting app, in this case, Teams. You'll also notice that we've taken away some of the noise because it's a simplified view. So we've taken away things like a OneDrive pivot and a Mail pivot to keep the things a little bit more simple in admin experience that surfaced in Teams. However, it's still a very familiar management experience for managing the licenses. It's the exact same experience, just made to feel and look more native and made to feel and look slightly more simple. You can manage the licenses, hit save changes. Interaction is the same exact way. It's just built to bring convenience for those same experiences. So now you don't have to worry about coming out to, if you're for the day-to-day quick actions, even if you're an enterprise admin, for the day-to-day quick actions, you don't have to go out to the Rich Admin Center. You can come to have the app installed in Teams, come into Teams, and do some of the common tasks that you might just have to take care of. If you did need to go to the Admin Center, the rich experience, you could certainly do that by clicking on the link up here, and that would take you out to the Admin Center. If you wanted to see the dashboard cards and the richness of that, you could certainly just do it from here. The other thing that you're going to notice over time is you're going to notice more curated actions that will get you more value out of Teams. We're working closely with the Teams folks to drive awareness and functionality of Teams settings and things like that as part of the experience built right into here. So idea is take the richness, that entry point of M365 administration, and put it in a very convenient place for you. The beautiful thing is if you see things exposing in the admin.microsoft.com, if they're relevant at all for somebody that's in Teams, they should start showing up in here as well at the same time. All right, let's talk a little bit about mobile administration. Again, staying on the kind of the storyline of being convenient. We wanted to make sure that we brought up some of the enhancements to the that we've made to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center mobile app. If you haven't been there in a while, or if you haven't installed it yet, I highly encourage you to go install the M365 Admin Center mobile app. It's a great way to stay up to date on what's going on with any service outages. Not that they happen often, but if they did happen, you'd be able to stay up to date on service outages. You'd be able to stay up, you'd be able to do on-the-go management. If there was some basic tasks you need to do, you'd be able to do it from there without having to sign in to admin.microsoft.com directly and do it through the Rich app. It's really great for on-the-go and staying informed. Well, one of the things that's been added recently is the ability to work with support tickets, but more specifically, to look at the case notes associated with those support tickets. It's often really handy to be able to come in, look at your support tickets that you have open, look at the status of them, and then look at the latest information, maybe that they're requesting from you. So they being a support is requesting from you, or just to understand exactly where your support case is at. It's all about bringing you information on what's most important to you. And if you have an issue in your environment, you want to know about what's going on. You want to be able to get access to that and updates on that pretty frequently. So you can actually come into the mobile app and do that. The other thing you could do is seamlessly assign and remove licenses. I love the fact in here that you could actually see how many you have available. You could do multi-select to unassign or assign licenses. So one of the things that's been a top ask is to have license assignment. We know it's a top action that people do within the admin center, and now we brought that to mobile in a pretty, in my opinion at least, in a pretty sleek way. This is just a couple of things that we've added to the mobile app very recently. I encourage you to download the mobile app. We're always doing things to improve performance of the mobile app, add capabilities, add richness. And I encourage you, if you haven't visited, downloaded, or used the mobile app in a while, give it a shot. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. And then one of the last things I wanted to talk about was unified collaboration. So if we look at what a lot of how customers work today, especially since we went into hybrid work, there's this notion of multiple different types of groups, distribution list, Teams-enabled groups. There's site management, so managing SharePoint sites associated with a Teams group or M365 group. There's all these different variances, and one of the things we're trying to do is bring these collaboration administrative tasks together to kind of demystify it. And we know that there's, like as an example, for an M365 group, there's elements of Teams, there's elements of SharePoint, there's elements of Exchange, all within that experience. The last thing we want to do though is kind of make it complicated by having you need to feel like you need to be a specialist in all those things. When in reality, the way many of you work is you're a collaboration specialist. You're responsible not just for the SharePoint portion, you're responsible for having the collaboration solution or understanding the collaboration solution that you've delivered. So we're trying to bring that stuff together in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to kind of tear down the lines between technologies and allow you to kind of holistically see how your collaboration is working and how it's configured and to manage it. And that's kind of what you're seeing here is the fact that you have these teams and groups together. If you go into the settings, you can see the site management capabilities and stuff like that within these different elements. So this is just a visual of what you should see in your admin center. And this is a visual of what the details pane looks like once you click into it. You can see like the primary email address. You can see the site address. You can see the email address, the site address, and just various things, pivots on it. You can open it in Teams. You can delete the team. Look at the email. There's even look at the members of the group. There's so many things you can get at your fingertips about this that are cut across all the different kind of workloads that are needed, like SharePoint Exchange and all that stuff to make this a reality, we kind of demystify that and allow you to just see it all in one lens, for lack of a better term. What do we want you to do? We want you to go and visit admin.microsoft.com. We want you to learn more by going to aka.ms, the link that's on the screen here. We want you to try administrative units if they're relevant for you. One of the things that we always hear is, how do I get to least privilege? We're building the tools to get you there. We've gone from 40 different AAD roles, Azure Active Directory roles, to 63, I think it is now. And it's growing every month. We have a lot of roles now. That's one way to get to least privilege, by not having global admins and assigning them specific roles. The next way to get to least privilege that we build out anyway is through scoping it. So saying that here's the permissions you have, and here's who you're going to do this, to. So you can specify the scope of it. That's one of the things that we want you to try out, give us feedback on, let us know how we did and what else we could do for you. The other thing I would say is go to the Teams App Store, download the administrative M365 admin app, use it in Teams, and tell us what you think. We're always willing to hear feedback and try to build based on what you tell us. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening to the session. Thanks for coming today, and hope to see you next year.